It depends on where you are, and depends on which gadget you're talking about. So I expect a North American manufacturing system to do very well in this world that we're going into. Most of our resources are within the hemisphere. The United States has the healthiest demography for both production and consumption in the world, and Mexico has the most favorable demographic structure for production and consumption in the advanced developing world. And courtesy of NAFTA and NAFTA 2, we're partners. This is great. However, there are two economic sectors that are exceptions. The first is agriculture, because American producers are so efficient, they have to export about 1/3 of what they produce. That is going to generate some interesting mismatches as the breakdown happens. And then the second is specifically tech manufacturing. For the most part, the United States producers in league with foreign investors own everything: aerospace, automotive, timber products. It's all done here. But tech manufacturing specifically is a problem, because to do tech manufacturing and electronic manufacturing, you have to have different price points for labor to represent the different parts that go into a product. So if you're going to have a modern desktop phone, there's a wiring system, there's a plastic shell, there may be a battery unit. All of those are going to be done by different workforces with different rates of compensation and different rates of skill. And one of the reasons electronics have been done so well in East Asia is you have the high end in Japan and Korea and Taiwan. You have the mid-range in Malaysia and Indonesia. You've got the low end in China, and then the bargain basement in places like the Philippines. And different countries are playing in here. The Indians are trying to jump over and go straight to the high end. The Vietnamese are trying to jump over to China and become the next Thailand. There's a lot going on, but there's all kinds of different price points. And from the low end to the high end, it's a difference of a factor of about 10 for wages. That is really good for electronics and cell phones. In the United States, we don't have quite that range. Also, we have less variety of price point. So when you're looking at electronics, that's a Southeast Asian issue. And that probably can be recreated in the US-Mexico border region, especially with a little bit of help from Colombia. But cell phones, we make the high-end chips in the United States still, but all the other stuff is China-centric or Korea-centric. So Korea is one of the countries that's going to face the greatest challenges in the world to come. And if it was anyone else but Korea, I would say they're doomed. But the Koreans have a tendency to completely reinvent everything about their culture every 20, 30 years or so. And I don't want to bet against the Koreans. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they will probably do kind of what the European automakers have done and just put a huge amount of foreign direct investment in the United States, particularly in the South, and somehow make that work. One advantage of cell phones is they're a high enough value-added product that you can fly them. And that opens up some horizons that might not have been there otherwise. But Apple is so screwed. Apple, every time something has gone wrong in China or with Chinese-American relations, Apple has gone the other direction. They've never diversified. They keep concentrating more and more on a China-centric system. And they are now the global company most exposed to a China crack. They've taken no intermediate steps to mitigate the problems that are coming. So I can see the entire Apple ecosystem just disappearing for 4 or 5 years until such time as the supply chain can be rebuilt somewhere else. And that means if you have an Apple iPhone, I hope you like it. And I hope you don't think you're going to get another one anytime soon, because it's just not going to happen. This next release is probably going to be the last one for 5 years.
It's amazing to hear you say this. And I think before I read your books, I couldn't have believed it. But the things that you speak about are so hard and fast. It's geography, it's demographics. Like you've said, it takes 18 years to make an 18-year-old, and you can't argue against that. But for people who are maybe—
Can't speed that up either.
Right, right. For people who are maybe, they want to explain this to others, and it's against the trends that we see. In my life, I've just seen so much linear progress upward, it seems, in the world. I've seen something like Apple just be such a dominant global brand. What are the cracks that you're seeing around the world that would help other people to sort of recognize that maybe things are going backwards?
I would say some of the good canaries in the coal mine, although some of them are already starting to Watch how the Europeans deal with pensions. That's a great start. The Europeans are some of the most advanced economies in the world, and there's also some of the ones that are, from an age point of view, are most advanced. So we're seeing increasing levels of retirement within Europe with a shrinking tax base because there haven't been new children for so long. So Germany hits that peak point in like 2026. I would argue that Italy is probably on the precipice right now. Russia would be a great one to watch because they're crossing the Rubicon right now, but Russian data right now is not exactly trustworthy. Japan is in that same bucket. Korea is in that same bucket. And you can watch how the pension costs have just ballooned over time, but the tax take is now going down. So these are becoming debt-driven societies in a world where international finance is breaking down. So the capacity of these countries to maintain the retirement standards of living that they're used to are just going away. China is a great example to watch for supply chains. Every time the supply chain in China breaks, someone somewhere figures out a way to plug things together in a new way and replace it. So the Chinese COVID vaccine really does not work. And we're now facing an environment where the Chinese are forced to lock down because it's the only tool they have. So as places like Shenzhen, Shanghai, and Guangzhou go offline, if you are China-centric in your supply chain system, you're screwed right now. But the early movers who saw what was coming and started working with the Mexicans a few years ago, they're doing great. They've got cheaper labor costs, they've got higher productivity, they've got less transport issues, fewer insurance issues, fewer energy issues. All of these things that have kind of been building up steam over the last 15 years have really combined into a fundamentally new way to work